across the World Wide Web, on your mobile devices, on social media platforms. This is Jambo Radio. www.jamboradio.co.uk. We are multilingual. We are conversational in the languages you best understand. We are Jambo Radio. Jambo Radio, inspiring transformation.
You are listening to Jambo Radio. You can now download the Jambo Radio mobile app on your smartphone from the App Store, Google Store, or Play Store. You can now use our Jambo Radio app on your smart mobile phone or device to contact us and also send us your song request. And now it's time for our next program. Interviews in which we talk to ordinary people doing extraordinary things for the community.
Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Jambo Radio Exclusive with myself, Lady Anne Duncan. Today we have a special guest joining us as we delve into a topic that's not only timely but incredibly significant, which is building bridges from diversity to inclusion. Our guest, Virginia Toyi from Inclusio Vantage, best known as V, brings over 20 years of her personal and professional wisdom to guide us on the journey towards a more inclusive and equitable world. So buckle up for an insightful conversation that may reshape the way we perceive and implement diversity and inclusion. Without further ado, let's welcome Virginia and her lovely allies, Pike and Janthia. So Virginia, hello.
Hello, thank you, Anne.
Yeah, welcome to Jambo Radio.
I'm very pleased to be here. Thank you very much.
Yeah, please introduce yourself and introduce your guest.
Hi, everybody knows me as V, but my full name is Virginia Toyi, and I've been here in Scotland for over 25 years, and my allies, Janthia, I have known for over 15 years. When we were back in law school at the Strathclyde Uni, we used to end up in a place called Home. I don't know if any one of you knows Home. It's Home from Home. And Anne Pike is a really great ally for the especially for the Black community, and I've known her for a couple of years, and we've done a lot of great things together, and we'll continue to do so. And we're very grateful to be here.
Oh, amazing. Thank you so much. Do you want to say hello? Just
yes.
Introduce yourself.
Hi, yes, as Virginia said, I'm Janthia, and we've been friends since we both studied law at Strathclyde University. We became acquaintances on the law clinic at Strathclyde University, where I remember Virginia being a bit of a tiger, especially in relation to employment law, and I was really inspired by her, and we became friends pretty quickly and continue to be inspired by her. I'm happy to be here.
Amazing. You're welcome. Anne?
Thank you. My meeting with V was through my professional interest and helping organisations be more diverse and inclusive in their thinking, and looked for people who could inspire me and help me further that aspiration. And thankfully I did come across V while she was working at West Lothian College, and since then we meet regularly. She's a critical friend on my board that I chair, Carers of West Lothian, and many other joint interests and ventures, and delighted to support her on this venture.
Amazing. So very much praise, so much acknowledgement. Your 20 years of experience is surely out there, and you're not the only ones that I've had talk about V in this light. So to just remind the listeners that do not forget that you can join this conversation via our website, YouTube, and social media at jamboradio.co.uk, or you can call in on +44 745 999 06822. Right, let's just get into it, V. I know everybody has been waiting for this moment. So kindly share with us your personal journey and experiences that led you to focus on inclusion, and why do you believe it's crucial in today's world?
Inclusion is as crucial in this world. I didn't just wake up one day and think, I want to do inclusion. And actually, when I was young, I wanted to do law. That was when, ask a young girl, what do you want to do? I said I wanted to be a lawyer. But I didn't get the points I needed to do law when I finished sixth form. I had 15 points. They wanted 16 points. That's back in Kenya. And I did economics instead. And I worked in microfinance, helping women actually become financially empowered. So that was a different sort of inclusion. And and there is no inclusion without actually including everybody else, because when we excluded the men in this venture, they became angry and they would beat their wives when they went home. So I always think if you want inclusion, you cannot do it by excluding others. You have to bring everybody in. So eventually, I came back. When I joined, I came to the UK. I was 38 years old, I remember, and I thought, it's never too late. I can do my law degree. And I joined Strathclyde Law Clinic, and that's where I met Janthia. And then we actually used to do pro bono work in employment law. But we were more focused on social justice, helping those who cannot afford legal advice, helping those who cannot get legal aid. And we would work tirelessly just helping other people. And that spirit of getting people included, whether it's financial, whether it's legal, has always stayed with me. And then I thought, we can make a lot of difference just by helping one or two people. So I went back to the university and I did policy at the University of Glasgow. And then I went and worked in housing as an EDI person, where I would look at, to talk to people in housing and ask them what their barriers were. And I worked with a certain company. It was called Agnes Agna Bar. No. It was a social housing that was helping asylum seekers and refugees to get housing. And we helped a lot of people. Then it joined up with Sanctuary Housing. And I was the EDI person, and then went into education and continued doing the EDI work. Eventually, I have now decided that working from inside institutions limits you a lot. And as other people that work in EDI will probably testify, you're so limited as to what you can do within an institution. You have to come out and go on the balcony and actually be able to help institutions become inclusive. That's a long story, but
amazing. And it's important to see where this dream, this vision, this ambition came from, because you had to feel it for you to step in and say, you know what, there's a need here. What difference did you see from the people, say, for example, the women who were excluded, and you guys in the microfinance included them and empowered them, and then thought, you know what, even the men? What are some of the differences that you saw when you included, whether it's the women or the men after?
Or that, people become a lot more confident with their lives. If you have a little money for yourself, or a little dignity, or a little legal advice here and there, you're more empowered because you're not waiting for your husband or your brother to come and help you. You can stand for yourself, and you see people blossoming. They're able to help their children. They're able to help other people in their family. So you change a whole, if you empower women, for instance, or empower people legally, you're empowering the whole society. And Janthia will tell you that I did face a lot of problems when we were doing law, because from a ethnic minority, I didn't have all the privileges that other people from here have, and it was difficult for me even to get a traineeship, and Janthia knows that. And if we can find a way of helping people who don't have these privileges to actually also, whether it's financial, whether it's legal advice or things like this, they become more empowered.
Amazing. Amazing. Great work there. So in your view, I want to bring in on two things that people probably don't understand, and probably the relationship, and this is diversity and inclusion. In your own words, how would you explain to someone, this is what diversity looks like when it's embraced and accepted, and this is what inclusion looks like?
Diversity is bringing people of different colors, different experiences, different voices. It's women, it's men, it's people of with disabilities, people with low income, people with high income. It's everybody, and that's where we are at today. We have to have a diverse community. If you look at the demographic of Scotland, for instance, you can tell how many people are Scottish, how many people from ethnic minorities. You have to have a good representation, and it's predicted that in 2045 we will have a majority societies where you have loads of minority people as the majority, and that's where we're going. So diversity is a fact. We're living in a diverse world now. With inclusion, that's where the difficulty comes in. You can have diversity without inclusion. We can all be here very diverse, but some of us feel excluded. You've been in a place where you feel you're there, you've been invited. It's like being invited to a party, but you're not asked to dance. Or being invited to a meal and you're a vegetarian and there's no vegetarian food. That's inclusion. You can have diversity and lack inclusion totally. So my focus is, how can we move from this diverse society to an inclusive society? Because our children, our generations, the Gen Zs or whatever they call themselves, they're different. They want an inclusive society. What are we building for them? Yeah. And
what do organizations need to know, on the importance of diversity, but also actively fostering inclusion? How? Because most people say we've got representatives from the ethnic minority, we've got representatives from this community. We are diverse, and they assume they're inclusive.
Exactly.
What do you think needs to happen?
Anybody can come in and bring in their views. I think Vienna will be calling Vienna, and I'd like to hear what her views are. Organizations, societies have to actually ask people. You can measure diversity. You can say in this room we're 2 black people and 2 Scottish people. We can measure that. However, if I'm to ask you, and do you feel included today?
Yes, because I'm
exactly. Yes. So they have to ask people within the institutions. People always say, "Oh, you can't measure inclusion." Yes, you can, by asking people how they feel. It's like a temperature. You say between 0 to 1 to 10. How do you feel included? Do you think you're valued here? Do you feel like you belong? Do you feel that your voice is heard? And you can then sum that up. And even if it's just one person, if you have one minority person in your organization, it doesn't matter. You just ask that one person, how do you feel included? And then you have measured it.
Yes.
But you can't say, we can't measure inclusion. Oh, yes, you can. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm also sure that you've come across people, you've worked in places where you fostered this inclusivity of people in organization and all that. And you've been either an employee and, as you said, a student. Give us a picture of where you have worked and felt included and how that looked like.
West Lothian College. They haven't paid me to say this. West Lothian College is it's surprisingly Anne and Janthia are from Livingston, and they know the college I'm talking about. That is a very inclusive. If I've never been to Livingston, when I joined them, I was the only black person in the organization. But from the beginning of walking in and even to the day I left, I always felt included. They have the whole organization has the spirit of the policies, their procedures, the leadership, and I don't know if you want to say something about it. The leadership is very inclusive, and it's because maybe the buy-in from the leaders. From the minute you walk in, the principal will invite you, and you will feel that she knows you by name. She includes you. It's an open door policy. You don't have to tiptoe around anybody. You feel included.
Yes, Anne, would you like to add anything on that?
I think in terms of the discussion around what's diversity and what's inclusion, I always look at it that diversity is the people, and when you're looking at inclusion, it's about what you practice in an organisation. What policies and processes do you have in place in order to make people feel included? Because we always have to look not just for the people that are already inside an organisation or a group or some gathering of whatever that might be, but how do you also encourage people to join your group or join your organisation? Because if you don't have the right culture and inclusive practices in place, you're automatically excluding people from considering you as a good option. So I think it's making sure the people that are already gathered together are looked after and included, but also to look through the lens and say, do we have practices in place that actually unconsciously exclude people from considering us as a good organisation?
Yeah, because I think organizations don't mean to exclude people, but unconsciously, like you've said, they could be excluding people. So on the line we've got Viana. Viana, hello.
Hello, how are you?
Good. Can you hear us all right?
I can hear you perfectly, yes.
All right. So we just wanted to hear about your experience on some of the constraints of doing DEI as an employee. Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, lovely. So weird not to see your faces. I think work, especially some of the constraints could be that although organizations tend to create groups for EDI and give certain individuals sort of titles, they don't always give them the autonomy to then implement the suggestions or recommendations. So, it's good to have, but it's also important for leadership to recognize that if you're going to have a group or you're going to have people bring in suggestions, you have to also give people the correct power, the correct sort of authority to implement that change. And that's been some of the challenges that I've seen, especially trying to work within organization. And specifically for black women in these kind of spaces, it's one where sometimes you can feel like or be made to feel like the token individual who's there to represent the diversity or the diversity work that people are doing or saying they're doing on paper. But if we're not able to implement, then you're just adding stress, and it becomes stressful. And again, you lose that joy, that energy, and that confidence. I found it easier to be a consultant, mainly because I can hold the company that I work with accountable. And I also don't work with any organizations where it's very obvious that it's a tick box exercise.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing with us, your insight. And what that says is organizations end up losing people, losing employees, and spending a lot of money elsewhere.
Yes, absolutely. It's not even I think some organizations don't actually invest enough or invest properly in diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. There's also a lot of requests or ask of employees to work extra on top of what they do to deliver the agenda, the plan, and you're not always supported. So that's another thing that I always think with organization. Really think about the people that are in your company, and if you are not going to invest in either consultants or in programs, and you're going to ask your employees or your diverse employees to step in, they need that backup of decision making, the confidence to. Sometimes you are going to have uncomfortable revelations, and that requires action. You need to support people with that action. So it feels like a lot of companies don't have a follow through when they've made that commitment to say, this is what we're going to do, this is our initiative. So for now, we need the action, we need to see the tangible, but we need to see that people are supported in their organization.
Wow, amazing. Thank you so much, Vienna, for sharing that. I know we have another caller on the line. Hello, if you can hear us.
Thanks, Vienna.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Irene Sosa.
Oh, hello, Irene. Hi. Can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can. I just wanted to really chip into the conversation from what Vi was saying, in particular about generational diversity and young people and the future. So I found that really quite interesting in terms of how we have generational differences, especially in the workplace, and to what extent does diversity think about the context in which organizations are operating, which is quite complex, and how they manage the generational expectations, and for organizations to become more agile in terms of how they manage those differences.
Yeah, that's true. Am I too close to the mic?
No. I think it's the line that was a bit unclear. Okay. Yeah, but we've heard from the two ladies on what their thoughts are, their experiences, and going first of all to Vienna, she was saying what I heard is you have to co-produce this. What DEI looks like with the people working or within the organization, and you have to have this co-production which cannot be separated from power sharing.
Exactly.
So what is your experience around this, and how do you bring this to organizations? Because this is quite complex,
The problem is that when you're doing DEI work, you have to have authority, but you're not given that authority. So it's what we used to call leadership without authority. So you are probably placed in HR, or you can be placed anywhere within an institution. I'm saying because it's the same as quality, I think, where she used to ask. So you are in a situation where if you're placed in with an HR department or in a quality department or things like that, you actually don't have the leadership to instill any changes, and you have to work with everybody else, but you're seen as just a lone person somewhere. You're the DEI person, but that's not what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be everybody's responsibility. Inclusion, for instance, is everybody's responsibility. It's for the whole institution to embrace that culture of making everyone feel included. It's not one person, V is there, she does DEI, go talk to her. That's not the way it's supposed to be. In fact, a good DEI person will work themselves out of a job so that they're not needed anymore. And the whole institution has embraced that culture. So now coming to Irene's perspective, I see a future where DEI will be just a normal thing within institutions. We won't have to say, oh, we need hire a DEI person, because what happened after George Floyd's murder, every institution, whether they knew what they were doing or not, decided to hire a DEI person or decided to do some DEI work. And then now has come a time when, what exactly are we doing? What is it that we're supposed to be doing? And that's the questions they're asking now. And that's why some people say, oh, we're so tired of this DEI, what is it? Because people didn't actually understand what it was that they were supposed to be doing.
Yes. And I know you've been, in your work, you've been emphasizing on leadership accountability for inclusion and diversity. So, and this is what you're trying to elaborate, on why they should be fostering an inclusive organization culture.
Yes.
But how easy is it? Because I know the Scottish government is doing something, but from your perspective, are they doing enough? Are they doing the right way? Are they, and where we are as a country, in organizations, do you feel like we are starting to
inclusivity is not going to be done by one group per se. The reason why I'm focusing on institutions is because we all have something in common when we go to work. We spend a third of our life working. We spend a lot of time at work with our colleagues, and that is one area where we can have, if institutions start fostering inclusivity and becoming more inclusive, that will be a good win. Churches have their role to play, although churches can also be exclusive, because if you're not in that religion and all that. So that's why I'm saying it's not the responsibility of one group, but starting with the organizations where people work is a good start for fostering inclusivity, and looking at the policies and procedures, as Anne said, and making sure that there are no barriers. And those policies, if you're recruiting, you need to slow down your recruitment practices, because what happens is some people just go with their gut feeling and say this is a culture fit. This person is going to work well with it. Other people is a good fit. That's what they say. It's a good culture fit. But the problem with that is that you then have this in people where they have groups. People just talk about things that they know they're comfortable with, and if you're having a group like that, you don't have a good discussion about innovation. Can you imagine 5 old men who went to the same school having a discussion about innovation? They're going to have the same ideas. They're going to have very little discussion, and they're going to spend the rest of the time talking about football.
Yes.
But however, if you have a young person there, a minority person there, a disabled person there, a transgender person there, in that group, that discussion is not going to last 5 minutes. It's going to last longer.
Yeah.
You get a better discussion, you get a better output, and everybody's view is included.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So we've got another caller on the line. Hello, can you hear us?
Hi, yes, I can do. I can hear you. I'm not sure you can hear me.
Oh, Maya.
Yes, hi Maya, we can hear you well.
You can hear me, excellent.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I've been following this chat. I've actually been very excited about this, because I think this is very, very overdue. It's a conversation that we should have been having yesterday. And so I'm very glad that you've brought this up, and it's a conversation that we can have in a very safe space. I'm actually going to follow on something that Vim mentioned around the George Floyd murder, and what happened afterward, and how employers and actual organizations perceive DEI. And I just wanted to find out what your input in regards to a solution that is basically the same across the board. I have found a lot of organizations are doing a tick box session or a tick box exercise where, we have to have a person from an ethnic minority group, otherwise we'll be seen as being discriminatory, and we're not being very inclusive. And just because they have to do the tick box exercise, they're not necessarily giving someone a job because of their work ethic, because of what they're going to bring to the table. They just feel like they just have to tick that box. So my question really is, what solutions do you think that, especially the organization, can be implemented across the board, where people are speaking exactly the same language? And I believe an article was shared, I read an article 2 days ago regarding a particular group that is challenging the First Minister for spending quite a lot of money on diversity programs, and people have been like, well, hang on, this whole diversity thing, when are we going to get off this fast now? I think it's been milked a little bit, and I think we're really just scratching. We just literally just at the tip of the iceberg. We've not really even got just scratching the surface. So, what do you think within your organisation and your skill set that you can help to implement, especially when it comes to educating, terminology, and ensuring that people are reading on the same page?
I think to start with, the idea that I'll disagree with you a little bit, Maya, there about people being hired because of their ethnicity to tick a box. Fair enough, it can happen. But what I saw an article by Elon Musk who had talked about, I don't want to get into that discussion, by the way, about DEI and all that, but I feel that the idea of people thinking that black people or ethnic minority people, Asians or whatever, are being hired when they are not qualified to tick a box is absolutely wrong, because I know the people I know are highly educated, with many degrees in their pockets, with a lot of experience. The problem is equality of opportunity. People are not being given the opportunity to compete at the same level with everybody else. They have the same qualifications, they just don't have the privilege of being in the right place and with the right social capital, with people, their uncle knows somebody who can just take you through to the interview. You come from a school where everybody else went to the same school, and then they just take you through quickly, and you don't have to struggle that hard to get to that, to get a job, where else you could have your degrees, your experience as an ethnic minority person, and never ever get to that. Your CV will never even go anywhere near the panel. And that is what I call equality of opportunity. That's all we are asking. We're just asking to get that opportunity to have your CV in the same place as everybody else and being given the same chance as everybody else. I don't know anyone who's been hired when they are not qualified because of their ethnicity. I don't know. I don't know anyone. And I think that is what sometimes creates this animosity of people thinking, you're a DEI person, that's why you were hired. You're just ticking a box, which is not the case. So what I think should happen is that there should be equality of opportunity for everybody. And that's how it should work. Recruitment processes should be impartial and allow everybody to have a chance. And this recruitment process should be slowed down so that unconscious biases and where you just go with your gut and culture, fate doesn't affect your selection process. Mm-hmm. That's the way I see it.
So from what Maya has said and what you have said, I I have a following question to that. Do you think people were saying, for example, I have, as a person from ethnic minority background, have to work twice as hard
three times
3 times or 10 times?
Yes.
And should that happen? Should that be the case, to get the same opportunity as everybody else? And if not, what is lacking? Is it at the policy level? Is it that people who've been there from the DEI have not performed? What do you think has been?
I don't have an answer to that question because it goes a long way to I mean, if we start talking about equality of opportunity or privilege, it's all about privilege, isn't it? It's about it happens because of traditional colonial mentality, and where people and it's also about social capital. We sometimes the ethnic minorities don't have social capital. The representation is not there. The people who at the top are not people who you went to school with, so you'll never be able to get there. So I don't think that there's a straight answer to that. I don't know what you think, Janthia.
So far, listening to everything, the thing that's kind of coming out to me is education. I think a lot of the time, as you mentioned earlier, Anne, it's not that people or institutions or organisations are doing this intentionally. I think a lot of the time it's just raising awareness and even understanding what it is. It was interesting when you were saying earlier, V, that sometimes people don't even know, they're like, oh yeah, we need to get a diversity person into the organisation, but they don't even actually know what it is or what that will entail. So it's just, I think, from stripping it right back, I think people need to know what it is and what they can do personally to change, and it's about getting all the way to the top as well.
Wow. Right. I also have people joining on Facebook. We have people joining on Facebook.
We open a can of worms.
And we have people watching through the website. Do not forget, you can always contribute using our studio number +44 745 990 6822. We have someone who's just sent a message via Facebook, and he says, this is Afandi Mulahi. He says, it takes a real culture shift for DEI initiative to flourish in any organization. Yes, leadership should sanction it, promote it, and set up reward systems that have DEI components at the core. That said, it also takes buy-in from rest of the staff complement to address a status quo that has benefited any group. Yeah, so that's what he had to say, which he totally agrees with you.
Yeah. It's an institutional culture, I suppose, and what Janthia was saying is sometimes the institutions are not deliberately doing this. That's why sometimes it's unconscious bias. It's a culture. It's a culture thing, and changing a culture is very, very difficult. If we build a culture here and say this is how we do things, it's very difficult to come into that culture and then change it. It will take years and years to change culture. So it's not a very straightforward answer. And the reason why I've started doing consultancy work, as Viana said, is because, and I'm not saying that it doesn't work, because every institution now almost has a DEI person, is that having one person as a DEI person in an institution is not going to is not the answer. It helps, but that's not saying that, okay, that's us, we're done, we've got a DEI person, we're good. Moving on, that's not going to happen. It's not the answer. It's just an employee who is a DEI person, and that person doesn't have to. It's also DEI people come from various there's no course called DEI course. I'm gonna go do a DEI course. No, some people are doctors, or engineers, or I came from the legal area. You gain the skills to do it. So it's and just because you're an ethnic minority or you're disabled or you're this does not make you a DEI person. No, it doesn't. You have to have the right skills and the right inclination, and to be intentional about what you're doing. It's not an emotional roller coaster. It's not a marathon. It's a journey that you take institutions through, and you have to guide institutions with looking at policies, equality impact assessments. Because I tell you what happens is, say in any institution there's a problem and someone is probably taken to court at an employment tribunal or whatever. What is the question that's being asked? Did you look at the policy? Did you follow the policy? So it's not the person. It's never the person who is implementing. In fact, you can be fired for not implementing the policy. So the problem is the policy, isn't it?
Yes.
Exactly.
Wow. And this is what Inclusio Vantage will be bringing.
Yes.
So who do you think is the best fit for you to go in and help?
Everybody.
So let us talk about someone who's starting a company, an organization, and that's the best place to start by, having that kind of a policy. How would they contact you? At what level do they contact you?
Yeah, I'll go back and say something about that. There's the Equality Act 2010, which actually obliges any institution that is a public institution or have more than in some cases over 250 employees to have it's a duty. It's a law. So that's why sometimes they have to tick boxes sometimes. In terms of smaller institutions, it's up to them if they want to become inclusive. However, if you discriminate on somebody, there are other laws like employment law and all that. But in terms of the equality duty, it's a duty for public institutions who are required by the law to have three main duties. One is to eliminate discrimination. One is to foster good relations between people with a protected characteristic and those who do not. And the other one is equality of opportunity. That's a duty for most public institutions. So those ones don't have a choice. So we help those kind of institutions. And then there's other large companies with over 250 people who are, for instance, required to have a gender pay gap, which is reducing the payment between paying women and men differently, or even paying ethnic minority people differently or disabled people differently. That's another category. And then there's individuals like yourself who might be interested in actually helping other people. Then there's charities. There's people who help. There are people who help disadvantaged people. Like say Anne is working with people who help carers. Those people will probably need to learn about different cultures. How do you go and help somebody who comes from a totally different culture from you? They have different needs, don't they?
Yes.
So it's all that together, and then we all become a culturally sensitive and inclusive society that cares about everybody else, because we are all actually one race. We are all very unique, different people. And I talk about intersectionality. Probably, I don't only think about one protected characteristic being more important than the other, because you can have multiple disadvantages. You can be a woman, you're black, you're gay, you're disabled, in all in one.
You have chosen an invalid number.
So I know some of the people who've contributed run a number of organizations. They sit on different boards, and when they hear of this conversation, they might want to engage you. So
there's a website. I have a website called inclusiovantage.com.
Yes.
Simple,
So don't forget, you can go to the website and get her details. And also, if they are wondering at what point should they bring you on, and are you gonna help them interpret their policies, or are you coming to train them so that they can do better in this area?
Anytime, each institution has different needs, isn't it? There's no one institution. I tell you what, all the institutions that are different stages of maturity, EDI maturity. Some of them are still ticking boxes. Some of them are just complying. Some of them are actually at the integration stage. Integration stage. That's where you actually look at all your functions, and you're looking at whether every function has no barriers. And then you have the disruptive stage. The disruption stage is where actually you are more mature, and you say, okay, we're looking at everything. We're disrupting everything. We're going to look at all our policies. We're going to look at how we discriminate people. We're going to look at if it's a garden. We're going to look at whether there are ramps everywhere. We're going to look if we have neutral toilets for everybody. We're going to do everything. So everyone is at a different stage. So everybody will have different needs. So it's at whatever stage you're at, that's where we start.
And how do they know they need?
You have to do an audit, an equality impact or an equality assessment audit. Yeah.
So and then they can contact you and see where to go on. So people would love to measure this, isn't it? As you mentioned, measuring inclusion is a crucial aspect. How can organizations effectively measure inclusivity, and what steps can they take based on the feedback to continuously improve?
Measuring inclusion is qualitative. It's not going to be as easy as quantitative diversity, where you can get numbers. You can say, okay, the population in Scotland, 4% is this, 6% is that, 96% are white and all that. And then you can see, okay, how representative is our organization in terms of the region where we're at. But inclusion, it's about the quantitative measurements, and that is where we come in. We can design a quantitative measures through surveys. That's just talking to people, getting feedback. You have inclusion networks within an organization, and there's different ways in which you can measure inclusion, and that's the specific sort of where you then bring in somebody like a consultant to come and do it, because when you're inside an institution, it's difficult to see your own. It's difficult to go at the balcony and look at. You're busy dancing and doing everything that you need to do, but we also you need to go at the balcony and then have a look at the people dancing and who's dancing well, who's not dancing very well, and you cannot do that yourself. That's why you need somebody from outside to come and look at that.
Amazing. And I don't know, have you got any experience from working with, supporting carers and all that you felt, actually, we feel people are happy, or people are contented, or we have a long way to go?
My background in recent times was a business excellence background, and we used a business excellence model to evaluate how good we were at running the business. Now, within that, as V says, there are ways that you can quantify things through numbers and KPIs, but there's also then your qualitative measures. And that definitely has to be in part around people's perceptions. But the perceptions that are important are about everyone that's in your ecosystem. So first and foremost, do you know who's important within your own ecosystem? Both from the very close people that you're working with. So in my case at Carers of West Lothian, we're supporting disabled people and unpaid carers. So there are direct people that are important to understand their perceptions of how well we're doing on every aspect of running the organisation. But then who are the people that are important to us that actually help keep the business running? So our stakeholders, our suppliers, and then what does the wider society in West Lothian think about us? So the people that don't work directly with us but sit outside our sphere of influence, what do they think about us, and how do we know that? Mm-hmm. So how do we gather, the perceptions? So some of the work I've been doing was engaging V to help me understand that, going and working within the Chinese community, what was their perceptions of us, the Polish community, variety people that actually find it quite difficult to identify themselves as an unpaid carer first and foremost. So what is it that we are doing that is preventing them coming to us for help? So it helps us understand that whole aspect. What are we doing to make ourselves as inclusive as possible to that wider community within our ecosystem? So there's some things that are really important around what's in your strategy. Do you believe in your strategy? Do you have people on your board sponsoring that strategy? Then the operational plans, how inclusive are they? Are they being measured against the strategy? So is there a good alignment? Is there regular measurement? And then do you go out and ask people what they think and gather all of that and do it for many aspects of running a good business. But definitely always check back in. That strategically we said we'd do that. Operationally, that was how we thought we would achieve it. What does the people that we work with in our whole ecosystem think about that? And what's working, what's not, and keep refining it and get eventually to the point that V spoke about, where you're disrupting everything. You're turning up every stone because everything could be improved.
But also it's some people have asked me, why don't people apply here and ask and come and join us, and like you say, why do some cultures not want to come in and ask for help as a carer, or why do people not apply in this kind of work, and because they feel that they will not be included, they feel that they're excluded from it, or they feel they don't belong to that, and what can be done to make people feel, I'll go there, I'll there's a place for me there, or I'll apply for that job. There are some organizations I've worked in where they have said, how can we get more black people to apply for jobs with us? We can't find them. No, they're not hard to find. They are easy to find. So how can institutions get people to actually feel that I can feel like I'm going to be included. I'm going to be
heard.
I'm going to be
seen.
I'll be valued. I'll be seen. I'll join in and be happy and So.
Oh, amazing. Any parting shot? Any last words for people to ponder on this topic?
I think the one thing that I'll take away from this, because this is all very much a learning curve for me, having worked in various institutions or organisations since I was able to work, ranging from hospitality to the legal world, I've never ever thought about, just asking someone, do you feel included?
Wow.
Mm-hmm. I've never, that question for me is just so powerful. And I'll take that away from today.
That's great.
And I think if simple things like that, these little changes, and also making people feel like they have a safe space to answer truthfully to whether they feel included or not.
Amazing. Anne?
I think it's so important, no matter who the people are, to always think, what does it feel like to walk in someone else's shoes?
Yes.
And understand what it feels like to walk in someone else's shoes. What did you learn from that, and how can you take that back to improve your own practice?
Amazing. So, V, as you wind up, in about 30 seconds, what is your last words, and where can people find you? And
Yes, I think if you've ever felt excluded in whatever, whether you were in school or you were invited to the dance, or you went to a party and there was no vegetarian food, that's exactly what we mean by saying you feel we are looking for inclusion, but in a wider perspective, in our work, in our societies, and whatever we do. And that is the theme and focus for Inclusive Vantage. And 2024, we'll meet again at the end of the year to see where we are at. And thank you so much for listening.
Amazing. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. And as our conversation draws to a close, I want to extend a heartfelt thank you to all of you, V and Janthia, for sharing profound insights on building bridges from diversity to inclusivity. Do not forget, it's Jambo Radio.
Thank you.